Pleased to present Austin Faith Dialogue, brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries. In the weeks ahead, you will see these and other programs by various denominations.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson, pastor of Central Presbyterian Church, and your host for this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. Our topic for discussion today is Adopt a Nursing Home, a program that helps to bring community into the lives of our senior citizens in nursing homes. Please join us.
This is Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs program discussing the important crossroad of religion in life, produced by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues throughout our area. Now, today's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue.
The decision to entrust the care of our senior citizens and elderly to nursing homes is a difficult one for everyone involved. For the elderly, it means a complete uprooting from home and family and so much that they hold dear. For the family, it's an equally difficult decision, but one that must be made to provide adequate health care that's a standard for all. As the years go by, the lifestyle of our nursing home residents is improving, partly because of reform and partly through the innovative programs that have come by volunteers. Today we'll be looking at one of those volunteer programs that helps to make a beautiful place for persons to be living. It's the Texas Department of Human Services Adopt a Nursing Home program, and our guest is one of the people that helped make this program work so well. We'd like to welcome Sharon Rowley of the Texas Department of Human Services.
Good morning.
Sharon, I would like to, first of all, just pick up on the name of the program. Adopt a Nursing Home reminds me of Adopt a School.
It's very similar. The idea for the program came from a report to the governor from a citizen advisor who said we need some sort of Adopt a Nursing Home program. The name stuck. It's a very similar concept to the Adopt a School, Adopt a Highway, Adopt a Beach. It's to get communities involved through volunteer opportunities.
I see. How long has it been going on?
The program is still very young. It's not quite a year old. I began in December as the first employee, and then this past spring we hired several other program managers for regions throughout the state. Okay. So it's very new.
So it really is just a year old, and what's happened since it started?
Oh, it's been tremendous. We began by targeting certain regions of the state and certain counties of the state rather than to take on the whole state one fell swoop and bite off more than we could chew. Certainly with a new program, wanted to be sure we were developing something that was going to work in the Valley, East Texas, large communities, small communities. We contacted the facilities, long-term care facilities in those selected areas, gave them an introduction to the program and a questionnaire, a survey. Are you interested in volunteers? Do you have enough volunteers? How else can we help you?
So you sort of targeted these various areas.
To begin with.
And Austin is one of them.
Austin is one of them. We have, I cover Austin and San Antonio, Bexar, Travis, and Williamson County. We have a program manager in Temple, one in Tyler, and one in Corpus Christi. But it is a statewide program, so if we get requests from Uvalde or Amarillo, they come through my office and I work with them.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, let's talk about the Austin scene and how many nursing homes have been adopted.
We have, in Austin, we have 29 nursing facilities within Travis County, and we have at least half of them that already have adoptions that are signed or in progress.
And who does the adopting?
Anybody, everybody. The way the program is set up, we work with groups, and by group we define that as a minimum of 3 volunteers. So it could be you and I, and the cameraman could be a group. It doesn't have to be formal or organized. 3 friends, 3 relatives that want to get together. Or it can be a social club, a service club, a school, a business, a daycare, or a church.
I see. You have to have just a minimum of organization then.
We're trying to keep the program truly simple and manageable, so it's not overwhelming for the volunteers and it doesn't become a lot of extra paperwork and reporting for the facilities. And the purpose is to strengthen and enhance the quality of life for the residents.
That sounds like a lean and mean operation.
It is, it is, it is.
And I think that one thing we want to do while we're emphasizing this today is to discover how to go about connecting if folks are interested in it. But let's talk first about the need. I mean, how great is that need? And how do you measure that?
The need is great. The statistics show us that on the average, nearly 50% of the residents in the nursing homes don't have family or surviving spouse. And on the average, close to 60% of the residents don't have regular visitors. So the stereotype picture of a resident who's got people coming in to take care of them and somebody else is going in and visiting and making their life fulfilling isn't always the case.
Okay, I'm not into repeating things very often, but I want to make sure I understood that. You said 50% of the residents in a nursing home in our area would not have family, and that 60% of the residents have no visitors.
That's right.
Which implies that there are some who do have families that still have no visitors.
That's right. There are family members who will call and say, I can't stand to see Mother like this, I can't come to visit, what can I do? Well, you can come to visit, but that doesn't always be the case. There are also cases where people live in one area and the family has moved away, so they aren't able to come to visit the family or friends that are in the nursing home.
Well, let's think about that, to have no visitors, and what that means for the person that is there without visitors. What's your experience of people who?
Well, I think within a nursing home, you're going to find a range of people who are room-bound and are unable to get out and perhaps have difficulty communicating. Then there are also the residents who are still very active, enjoy doing things, love to go out, but are in the nursing home because they have some nursing need. It may be minimal. The residents in the nursing home may be there only for a temporary time in some kind of recuperative process, or many times they are there because that is the last place they will live. I've met a resident in a nursing home in San Antonio who's been there 20 years. She knows more about that place than any of the employees,
right,
and is having a wonderful time. So by not having visitors, it can be someone who can't get out of bed, can't go participate in activities, the bingo parties, the birthday games, as well as those who enjoy getting in the van that the nursing home has and going out to do some shopping.
So whether they're up and about or not, the need is still there.
Certainly. You and I would get tired if we lived in the same apartment complex and the only people we saw were the people that lived there and the people that worked there, and we had no interaction with the rest of the community.
Is the need to be adopting a nursing home arising from factors other than just that some of the residents have no visitors?
I think it's on the greater scheme of things, it's to get the community involved. The nursing home is part of the community. The people that live there were the same people that were your neighbors or went to church with you or taught your children. The overall quality of care of facilities improves with the more active involvement of communities. The aging population is something that is beginning to take get a lot of attention. The fastest growing age group in the U.S. is those over 85. So today there are more people having their 85th birthday than there are who are dying at age 85. And that's before we start talking about the baby boomers. So the whole aging issue is...
So to become more conscious of the issues pertaining to aging is a good side effect of this,
certainly,
at least.
Clear away some stereotypes of people of what people are like when they're old, and many times to develop some intergenerational relationships. Children who perhaps don't have the opportunity to visit with great aunts and uncles and grandparents or be around older people can really benefit from the visit. It becomes a two-way street. We talk about the target is the residents, to benefit the residents, but there's always a reciprocal effect as far as the benefits volunteers receive.
Well, I think this is true across the board in terms of creative volunteerism, that people who really get into something that interests them and they care about a particular individual or issue find that they're growing as a result of this and benefiting from it. And I want to come back to that. I mean, I'm saving all this till a little later, but there's still one other thing about what it means to adopt a nursing home, and I wonder if that leads to advocacy. In other words, what I see just in a variety of social issues, that it's one thing to care about individuals, and that's the most direct and immediate way. But have you found that adopting a nursing home leads people to say, well, now wait a minute, Governor Richards, you were the one that got us into this, and legislators, how can we improve the situation of those in their later years, particularly in nursing homes, as a result of our involvement?
I think that can come, and I think that's sometimes the first reason people go in to volunteer at a nursing home. For this program, it's still a little early to judge if that's going to actually happen. But the way we have the program set up is one of our guidelines is that the volunteers are to abide by the directions of the facility staff, which is no different than if they were going in to adopt a school and were getting instructions from the teacher or from the principal. But that's not to say they can't ask questions or express some concerns.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see that people have more of a voice in public affairs than they oftentimes realize, and if being part of a system, adopt-a-home system, helps put people in interconnection that way, it could be of benefit to everyone.
And certainly within the industry, when we've worked with and talked with nursing homes, they have been ecstatic about the program. They're very enthusiastic. They encourage and are always looking for volunteers because they care about their residents and the quality of the residents' life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go back to what it takes to get connected, and I've received before the program just a list of guidelines, and it reminds me that where 2 or 3 are gathered together,
That's it.
you can do it.
That's right.
And but whatever the size of the group, whether that or a church or a civic organization otherwise, they have to make a commitment of a minimum of 4 times. I guess that's visiting over a period of a year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We set that up for a number of reasons. When we say 3 people, it doesn't even have to be the same 3 people going each time. And the 4 visits can come, a minimum of 4 visits can come in the span of a month or take the full year, come every quarter. And we did this for a number of reasons, to let people know you can make a commitment, because we are asking for a commitment, but it doesn't have to be so overwhelming that it's going to interfere with the rest of your life. And then time is very precious to people now. So many people are both parents work, or they're so involved that time is a very precious gift. And a number of surveys have shown that the kinds of things people want to do as volunteers are they want to do it as a group, because that becomes a social activity for them as well, and many times we don't have time for that. And they want to have some sense of what the time commitment is. And this gives it some definition. We're trying to make it as inclusive as possible, but give it some definition.
Okay. And that there's this year that you say will help out at least that long. You also say that people will be agreeable to having some orientation or training for the...
For any volunteer program, orientation and training is very, very important. Whether you're going to stuff envelopes for a political campaign or run the concession stand at the Little League game, you need to know what you need to do, how to do it, and how it fits into the greater scheme of things. Certainly if you're going into a nursing home, especially if you've never been there before as a family member or as a volunteer, you need some instruction. There are some typical things, a tour of the building, explanation of particular guidelines or policies of the home, introduction to some staff,
Sure.
and then some sensitivity training so people can get over some of the uncomfortable feelings they might have by being in the nursing home, and let them appreciate and understand what the residents are experiencing. Looking through the world through cataracts, trying to maneuver a wheelchair, hearing difficulties. So it begins to establish a bit of a comfort level for the volunteers, and they won't be overwhelmed when they go in to do whatever activity they choose.
As you talk about that, I'm mindful of how it's empathy training, it sounds like. You're saying put yourself in somebody else's place and begin to actually see the world. When you said through cataracts, it struck a chord, because we just assume that we know how somebody else is feeling or what they're going through, and we really don't.
And many times we also offer training to the nursing home staff. We do training for the activity directors and administrators, and we will do an in-service at the facility, and many times they've asked us to include the sensitivity training for the staff as well, because as much as they care and as often as they work directly with the residents, sometimes they need a little bit of understanding as well.
Well, I think that one thing we might do, we're going to take a break here just for a moment, but we would like to show an address and phone number for folks that are interested already in what it is that you have to offer. And you're on 51st Street, I see, and people can phone that number to get...
Phone that number.
Okay, well, we're not going to ask you to do that quite yet because we're going to take this break and be right back on Austin Faith Dialogue.
Austin means serving you. That has always been the primary goal of Austin Metropolitan Ministries. We are religion in action through the work of these organizations. Each plays a key role in making the capital city a better place to live, but we can't do it alone. Do you have some spare time, talents, or any resources that you can share? If you do, please call AMM at 472-7627, because serving Austin means serving you.
Welcome back to Austin Faith Dialogue, and today we're visiting with Sharon Rowley of the Texas Department of Human Services on the subject of adopt a nursing home. And during the break, Sharon, you said something religious that I think the folks ought to hear, and that is what they do in almost all the nursing homes, which is...
Play bingo. I haven't found a nursing home that doesn't enjoy playing bingo.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
I think everybody likes the competition and just the interaction, and we all love to win prizes, and it's just a fun thing. Everybody loves to play bingo. Some nursing homes, they could play it every day, they probably would.
Well, and that's where volunteers can help particularly, right?
Certainly, because they can assist the residents who perhaps are having difficulty hearing or seeing and understanding the game sometimes, but still enjoy it. They can call the game, they can hand out prizes, they can pop the popcorn. What is bingo without popcorn? So it can have as many people as you've got available.
Now, besides helping lead in bingo, is there anything else religious that you can do?
Many times, facilities that don't have many volunteers, the majority of the volunteers are those that come from a church. They can do the worship services, the Bible studies, gospel singing, and they are also frequently the ones that do the monthly birthday parties or come in to do arts and crafts or assist with the bingo games.
So the churches are playing a significant role.
They
in
are
this,
playing a significant role.
How many churches do you have? Do you know?
Caught me on that. I'm not sure, but at least every facility we have that has an adoption includes one or more churches as part of the group. The way we have the adoptions is groups that are already doing volunteer service are certainly welcome in the program. We have an adoption agreement that they sign that describes what they'll do, and the facility describes the kind of training they'll provide. So say a church has been adopting a nursing home for the last 15 years, they can be a part of the program without changing anything they're doing, and sometimes this helps them get a little bit focused to understand what they're doing and exactly who is the contact person, because we do ask that a contact person be designated so everybody knows who to go through. So we have a number of adoptions that are just a formalizing of an existing relationship, as well as going out and recruiting and soliciting additional volunteers to come in.
Well, you know, one of the things, too, it seems to me that the churches are not the only group in a community that can help out, but there's something about representing a religious faith tradition And I don't mean in terms of evangelizing anybody, that's not the purpose of it, but to be able to share with people meaning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're not seeing other visitors, or if life is toward its end and you're wondering, you know, what's the purpose of going on? Have you had experience of where people of genuine spirituality have made a difference in that regard?
We have. The residents just, it brightens their life to have the people come in who are of their own faith, or to share some experiences, and just to be able to enjoy and participate in services or readings that they aren't able to because they're in the nursing home.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's probably easier to get a little bit of a fix on the activities that go on, but somehow even through that you can show care and concern, and that people aren't doing it just because they're feeling guilty about not doing their part in the world. I mean, they really want to do it.
They really want, everybody comes to do volunteer work for a number of reasons, and the majority of the reasons are certainly valid, and I think everybody benefits.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the volunteers. Let's make the switch over from what the residents are experiencing to what the people who are helping out experience. What have they said to you about how they benefit?
Well, they are thrilled. Many times it catches people unawares. They're going in there to do a good deed and perhaps expect to be able to keep some distance. And they just find delightful people and really develop some very close friendships. They find other benefits. They can benefit. Music schools go in and do their dress rehearsal for their recitals.
Oh, really?
Certainly. Businesses, a restaurant uses it as part of their new employee orientation and training. They go in and provide a spaghetti dinner for the residents. The employees get some additional training, and they don't have to worry about whether the customer is going to be leaving a tip or not, because they're providing the service. They learn some training. Schools go in. Children work so hard to prepare for a play, and here's another opportunity for them to go in and perform. People have skills and talents perhaps they aren't aware of. Play the guitar. They can do that on a one-on-one basis with residents. They can entertain. We have beauty shops. We had a beauty shop that said, we'd like to have a resident come to our beauty shop and we'll give her a day of beauty. The first lady went, and she had about 4 or 5 hours of the makeup and the facial and the manicure and the hairdo. And she was seeing a fellow at the nursing home, and after her day of beauty, he asked her to marry him.
Well,
I don't know that we can promise romance. So I think, you know, maybe he saw her inner beauty after he saw her outer beauty. So we have, if you can think of it, you can do it at a nursing home. It's no different than any other part of the community as far as providing some kind of activity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you kind of went through a series of groups that are connected to you, because it shows what the variety is.
Oh, it's tremendous. We have people who have decided they are become the Smith family visitors or the Thompson family visitors, and they just go with mom and dad and the kids and visit. We have service clubs. We have businesses, daycare centers, schools. We have some groups that have just kind of friends that have gone together, the Fiesta Beauties, who go in and on a weekly basis visit and do some simple manicures. We have one group called the World Changers. I'm not sure how they kind of came together, but...
What do they do?
Visiting and parties.
I see. I mean, they're changing the world by their...
Certainly. I keep looking for a group that calls itself Somebody Else, because sometimes we think somebody else is going in to do the activities. I want to see the nursing homes as busy in January and June as they are during Christmas. Everybody thinks about going to carol and visit in Christmas.
Sure.
The residents can be very depressed and very angry in January because they aren't there in January.
Yeah, I noticed.
What is it about me that in December I'm okay to come and visit, but nobody comes back in January?
I mean, here's New Year's, Mardi Gras, Valentine's Day, President's Day, Texas Independence Day.
You can find a holiday in every month, so there's no excuse for not going in every month and having some kind of activity.
All right. Well, I said I wanted to come back to the question of what we glean from this. I mean, anyone who is participating in it. And for instance, when you talk about a group that's going in to do a rehearsal, they're not performing a final act. People are around watching them do their preparation for this. And I think that communicates a lot.
Certainly.
It means that people feel like they're part of the action. the creation of it, that you don't have to be perfect.
And
because rehearsals are making the process of making mistakes.
And it's quite possible that the residents you're in front of maybe were school teachers who worked with children and went through the same getting the kids together ready to do a performance, or perhaps professionally or on an amateur basis were a performer themselves. And many times it's incredible to find what kind of memories you stimulate when you talk about something that is part of your life. We encourage reminiscent groups, oral histories. Certainly students can go in with some prepared questions and conduct an oral history with a resident they work with the facility, or a business can do it. We've had a car dealership who's interested in doing that. They'll go in, and you and I could probably do an oral history if I just asked you 1 or 2 questions beginning with, tell me about your first car. And you begin to have a whole history, automotive history.
You have car dealerships that are adopting...
A car dealership up in East Texas is interested in adopting a nursing home to get some oral histories about automotive history.
I see. And certainly from the standpoint of other businesses, you mentioned, what was it, a restaurant?
Italian restaurant is going in. We have one Italian restaurant that's going in as part of their new employee training. Then we have other restaurants who just on a rotating basis provide lunch, and so the residents get some really different food than the standard institutional fare, and they certainly get instructions to be sure they're not creating any dietary difficulties for the residents.
I've heard of businesses adopting schools. And there's a fairly well publicized aspect of that, but this may be the first time we know about it in regard to nursing homes.
Nursing homes, and with nursing home, we're not asking for money, we're not asking for goods, we're asking for people and for time. If they do a bingo game and want to provide the prizes, that's fine, but it's not anything we're asking for.
I see. I think that it would be well for us to put up that address one more time in case some people just tuned in the latter minutes here. And up on 51st, isn't that where the Human Services Department
It's the large complex there at Lamar and North Lamar and 51st.
And have you been with this from the beginning?
Yes.
And were you working with elderly before that?
No, I've been a long-time volunteer, and it just struck a chord. I've got to admit I'm getting older and certainly care.
Well, you know, you convey not only information, but enthusiasm.
Well, it's an exciting program. It's an exciting program.
And I'd like to, just as we come to the end of the show, think about in John Kennedy's book, Profiles of Courage. He talks about Thomas Hart Benton, who was a senator from Missouri, who in his later years was continuing to expand his capabilities. And it was said that at the time of his death, at very advanced years, when last seen, Senator Benton was still rising. And I think that we can hope that for everyone as they come toward the end of their life, and you have given us a sense of that uplift in your work.
Well, we say it's a home, people go there to live.
Thank you.
Thank
Sharon
you.
Rowley, Texas Department of Human Services, thank you folks for looking in, and we hope that you will take with you some of this enthusiasm. I'm Richard Thompson on behalf of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, thanking you for watching and encouraging you to be with us again next week. Goodbye for now.
For more information, call Austin Metropolitan Ministries at 472-7627.